Hello, good morning once again, and welcome to NESA Excel training. My name is Bolaji, and I am also an economics student. NESA. NESA means Nigeria Economic Student Association. So I'm also an economics student in my 400 level, and together with some other students also from the department currently on the call, we have decided to put together a training, to teach primarily NESites and then probably and beyond, but our primary focus is to teach NESites, some of the basics of using Excel, because we realize that in the workplace, this is probably one of the tools that you can never run away from, right? You can't run away from this. So I'll just let some of the other facilitators of this program that are currently on the call to introduce themselves. Let me see. Martins, could you please just say hi?
Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Martin Sachakai, and I'm currently in 300 level. Since all of us are from Department of Economics, I'm also from the Department of Economics. So I'm also a facilitator for this training alongside Mr. Bolaji. So Mr. Bolaji is our team lead for this particular training. And for a little bit about my background, I would say I'm a data scientist, at least in the works. So it's in the works. So I'm looking forward to an exciting journey with everyone.
Okay. Thank you, Martins. So there are two other persons that are also facilitators of this. We have Biodu and Ishola Lumide. So currently they're not on the call now. So once they join the call, they would also introduce themselves as well. So let's get right into it. Now this is our third meeting. Let's say this, like our third meeting or our second meeting, right? We started this physically before the ASO strike and all that has happened over the past few weeks. And in the first class we had, just for the sake of those that are just joining us today, in the first class we had, we basically introduced, the Excel environment and a couple of basic features to get yourself familiarized with Excel. And since then, we have recommended video tutorials for you guys to watch to get familiar with those basics. Now, I am hoping that everyone on the call now is on the Telegram group and you have gone through the playlists of tutorials that we recommended for the week. So before we start things, I would first ask, how has the tutorials been? They've been easy to follow? Has it taught you one or two things that you didn't know about Excel before? Let me just get our comments. Yes, no. I'm waiting. Okay, Lesson said yes. That's nice. So it's only Blessing that has learned something new. So everyone else are already experts on Excel. Okay, me as well. Okay, so we have two beginners. Oh, enlightened and simplified enough. That's good. That's great. Okay, so that's about the training so far. The second question I would like to ask before we start is, did you all attempt the assignment that was assigned on, I believe it was on Thursday? Yes. Did you all attempt it? How was it? Was it tough? Did it build on what we asked? Okay. We may attempted it. Okay. Seems Emmanuel, Shiaki, did you guys also attempt the assignment? Okay. Yes, it was exciting. Awesome. So we would go through the solutions to that assignment, right? I've gone through the submissions and you guys really, made a very good attempt. Oh, Michael also attempted it. That's great. It wasn't as easy as he expected. Yeah, so we did that a little bit intentionally, okay? The video tutorials were a little bit basic and we tried to spice things up in the exam just to see if you could put one or two things together, but that's good. We will go through it this morning. Before we do that, just for the sake of those that this will be their first class, I will do a very brief introduction to the Excel environment. So when I start mentioning go to this, go to that, it won't look strange. Okay, it won't look strange. So welcome again. Let me just hide my video for network sake. So welcome again. This is an Excel environment. So I believe most people here are familiar with Microsoft Excel. At some point, you must have used Excel. Okay, maybe just for manual data entry, or someone just sent you a file that contains something in Excel, right? So I will just go through some of the basics. Now, what we have here, this Excel file that is open is what is referred to as an Excel workbook. I remember I asked a very little quiz on Telegram group about what an Excel file is also known as, and we had a lot of mixed answers, right? So this file that you have here, as if you just open a new Excel file, is referred to as an Excel workbook. Okay. Now within each workbook, you have worksheets. So this is a worksheet, this is a worksheet, this is a worksheet. And in each worksheet, you now have cells. Okay, this is a cell, this is a cell, this is a cell, this is a cell, this is a cell. And a cell is just basically an intersection between a row and a column. I believe everyone is familiar with all of this, right? This is a cell. So at the top here, we have the ribbon, So all of this aspect of Excel, these are referred to as the ribbon. In each ribbon, you have tabs. So this is the home tab. This is the insert tab. This is page layout tab. That's the formula tab. Okay. You have formula, data, review, view. So if you've opened Excel, use it at all, you'll be familiar with some of these things. So those are what we call tabs. In each tab, you have groups. So under the home tab, we have, this is the font group, this is the alignment group, this is the number group, this is the styles group, this is the sales group. If you go to the data tab, you have the queries and connections group, data types group, sort and filter group. Okay, so these are ribbon, tabs, groups, and in each group, you now have different, let's just call them elements that affect what you have in the worksheet. Now, just right above the ribbon, we have a set of small icons here, right? Depending on your version of Excel, this will look slightly different, but we have a set of icons here, and this is referred to as the quick access toolbar. As you can see, if I just hover on it, you see it says customize quick access toolbar. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, you can't see the screen tip. All right, let me see if I can fix that. But this is the quick access toolbar. You have the ribbon, and then here you have what is called the name box. This place, this small little box here, is referred to as the name box. And what the name box does is it tells you the address of the cell that you are in. So you see, if I select this place, it tells me, okay, that's the cell E2. If I select this place, it tells me, okay, that's a cell B4, right? So that's what the name box does. It tells you the address of the cell or the range of cells that you're currently in. And right here, beside the name box, we have the formula bar. Now the formula bar is where you, as it says, formula bar, you type in your formulas, or you type in anything you want to go into a cell, right? If you don't type it directly in the cell here, you can always come to the formula bar and type it in, and it will reflect in the cell as well. And then these, and then these icons beside the formula bar are functions, are keys to enter functions into the formula bar. We'll go over that in a little while. So that's that. We have the rows, we have the columns, we have the ribbons, tabs, groups, quick access toolbar, the name box. Now, right at the bottom here, at the bottom of the cell, at the bottom of the workbook, this area here, very soon you'll see it. You see one, you have your zoom slider, and then you have different views of your current worksheet. So you can leave it in the grid, you can change it to a print layout, and you can also view it in bricks, like in pieces, basically. but don't worry too much about that. Okay, so that's just an introduction to the Excel environment. Now, moving on, I assume that at least most of us here have gone through the set of tutorials that we recommended. So I will not really dwell too much on some of those things that have already been covered there. If you haven't, don't worry, just follow through, and after you can go back and watch those videos. So that's just a brief introduction. This is, I believe, yes, this is the assignment that was given. So we'll just start with that immediately. So giving every worksheet has instructions, places shaded in gray where you enter your access and all of that. So let's start with the first task. Let me zoom in a little bit. I believe you can see my screen. Can you all see, you can see my screen? Yes, okay, good. So the first task you were given was, you have been given a list of employees and their salaries and have been asked to break down salary into its different components based on the given percentages. And then there's a little hint that says write the formulas in cells D9 to G14. So this range here, the cells G9 to D14. So what we want to do here is, we have a list of employees, Alfred Marshall, because our company is very big and we had the capacity to employ Alfred Marshall. So we had Alfred Marshall and Smith, and these are just a list of employees, their gross salary, and a breakdown of what the salary is. So 50% of the salary is the basic salary, 20% is respect to housing, 10% transport, and another 20% to health. Now, what we want to do is to write in a formula that will say, okay, for the basic salary, take 50% of this amount. For this one, take 50%. For this one, take 50%. For this one, take 50%. Okay? So what's the first thing that comes to mind? You just start, and you know that every formula, every function you want to enter, if you want to do any calculation in Excel, you always start with an equals to. So you start equals to, and then you select the first person's salary, and then you multiply that by 50%, right? And what do? You press enter, and then you copy the formula down. What happens? You seem to have errors. Why is that? Anytime you have an error, let's say you enter a formula, you enter a function, and then you do a calculation and you get an error, the first thing is to do what? Edit the cell. Now, how do you edit a cell? You can double click into the cell, and once you double click, it tells you it highlights the ranges or the cells that are part of that formula. So in this case, now you see that we are now referencing 250,000. Yeah, okay, yes, that's fine, which is cell C10. But our range is no longer referencing 50%, but it's referencing basic salary. So that's not what we want. We want a situation where if we type in our formula and copy it down, it would come here from 500 to 250 to 300 to 400, but it won't leave 50%. Okay, we want it not to leave 50%. So what do we need to do now? Let's just undo that. It means that we need a way to say, okay, this formula, as I said, do multiply C9 by D7. I don't want you to leave this 50% if I drag this formula down. I want you to always reference 50%. But when I move to this next cell, I want you to move down to 250, move down to 300, move down to 400, but don't leave 50%. Okay. Now, if you know already from the videos, there is what we call absolute cell referencing and relative cell referencing. Is that familiar? You just can unmute yourself and say yes. You can send a message in the chat if you understand what I mean by absolute cell referencing and relative cell referencing. Okay. All right. It seems I'll assume that you guys are already familiar with that. Okay. Okay. So what we need to do now is we need to lock this cell D7 reference. Okay. And then keep this one free, basically. So that, okay, when we copy it, it's always referencing D7, but this one moves down. And how do you do that? Is by putting dollar signs in front of your reference here. So here in this cell D7, we want to put a dollar sign in front of D and a dollar sign in front of 7. And you do that by pressing the F4 key. So if you press F4 on your keyboard, what it does is what you see, it adds a dollar sign in front of D and front of 7. And this is what we refer to as absolute. Okay, or you can call it fixed, just so you understand it, right? So currently now, what this is saying is that we have completely fixed cell D7. So no matter the direction or where you drag this formula to, it would always reference cell D7. Okay, so let me just show you that. Let me delete this and just say, okay, equals to this cell here, and I press F4. Now I've locked it and I press enter. Okay, if you see that now it's showing 1 because of this time. Let me just remove the formatting for now. See if I come to the home tab here and I change the formatting to, let's say, general, no formatting. No, 50% is the same thing as 0.5 half, or let me just change it to percent. So you see that I'm referencing cell D7. Okay, I'm referencing cell D7 equals to D7, and I've made the reference absolute. If I drag it down now, see what happens. If I come to this last cell and I edit it, see what's saying? It's still referencing D7, even though I have dragged the formula down. That is absolute. Okay, that is absolute. So I'll just undo that. What we now need to do is what? We need to say, okay, equals to our salary multiplied by the percentage, and then lock it. Abi, press enter and fill it down. And then we have our answer. Okay, this is a good first step. But let's now see, just as you can fill formulas down, you can also fill formulas to the right. Okay, you can fill formulas down and you can fill them to the right. So when you want to fill down a formula, just as you see now, you see that once you put your cursor on the cell that you are highlighted, that you are currently selected, there are two ways in which you can select the cell. The first one is this one that you have here. You have this white cross. So this is your selection cursor. So with this one now, you can select the cell, you can select the cell, you can select the range of cells. The second one is when you just move it to the edge of the cell, you have a cross that has arrows on the head. Okay, this one is like your move. Okay, it's your move cursor, but that's not the one we need. The one we need is this. If you just place your cursor at the edge of your selection, you have this small cross without any arrows on the head, a black small cross. That is your fill handle. So with this one is what you use to fill down formulas, either downward or across. Now, let's see if we can fill this formula across. So we drag to the right. And, okay, we have some values. Let's see if they are correct. Okay, so in case you get logged out after the meeting, just join back with the same link. All right, the subscription I was trying to get has not yet gone through, so just join back with the same link. Okay, so let's see now. We've dragged our formulas to the right. Let's see whether it's referencing the right places to do the calculation. So I edit my cell and I say, wow, this one is now referencing what? Transport. It's now referencing cell F9, and my D7 is still referencing D7. Now that's not right. Okay, that's not right. Now, most of us, what we did in the assignment when we had a solution was we said, okay, we've done this one. Then we came here and said equals to this, we multiplied by 20%, and then we lock the 20% and we press enter, and then we fill it down. That's what most of us did during the class, which is fine, but it's not the best way. Most times when you're working with Excel, you want to always enter your formulas in a way that you just enter only one formula and then you fill it to all the places that you need. Okay. So now what we need to do that is this now. We need a way that, okay, when I drag this formula down, right, it should not leave cell. It should not leave this 50%, but it should move down from here, there, like move down through all the salaries. But when I now fill this formula across, I want it to not now leave this 500, but to move from 50% to 20% to 10% to 20%. Okay, and what we need to do is that we now need to change the kind of referencing that we are using in our formula. We have used absolutes now, and then we have absolutes for D7, we have relative for this thing, C9. Let me explain what this referencing means. When you have a $sign in front of D and in front of 7, it's saying lock column D, row 7. Okay, that's what it is saying. Lock column D, row 7. You'll see that if I just select this, everything like this, and I press F4 again, see what happens. You now have only the $sign in front of 7. Now what this is saying is what? Lock row 7, but leave column D free. So which means you can move from column D to column E to column F, but you will always remain on what? Row 7. If I press F4 again, you see what happens? It changes it to what? The $sign is now in front of D, which means that what? Lock column D, but leave row 7 free. So you would not leave column D, but you can move from row 7 to row 8 to row 9 to row 10. Okay, so now let me just delete what we have here for now. So which means that what we need to do is that what? We need a formula that would move from what? From column D to column E to column F, but not leave row 7. Abi? And at the same time, we need a formula that will move from row 9 to row 10 to row 11, but not leave column C. So it means for the salary, don't leave column C, but move from row 9 to row 10 to row 11. But for the percentages, don't leave row 7, but move from column D to column E to column F. So let's try that. We'll say equals to salary. What do you want for our salary? Don't leave column C, but move from what? Row 9 to row 10 to row 11. So we'll press F4. Is this the referencing that we want? No, because this one has $sign in front of C and in front of 9. So it's going to lock both row C and row 9. We'll press F4 again. What do we have now? We have the $sign in front of 9. What this is going to do is what? Lock row 9 and leave column C free. Is that what we want? No, what we want is what? Lock column C, leave row 9. So we press F4 again. Okay, now the $sign is in front of C, which means what? Lock column C. And we don't have any $sign in front of 9, which means what? Leave column row 9 free. Okay, we have that one solved. We press times or asterisk, which is times. Then we select the percentage. Now for the percentage, what do we want? We want, someone should just tell me, just unmute yourself. What's the kind of referencing that we want here? What do we want to lock? What do we want to leave free? I'm waiting. Let's not waste time. Emmanuel, could you help us out? What do we want to lock? Okay, so he said we would lock 7. So we want to lock the row. Okay, and then we want to leave the column what? Free. So which means that what? The $sign has to be in front of the row, but the column is going to be what? Free. So press F4. No. F4, yes, because now the row has been locked and the column is free. And then we press enter. And then what do? You copy it down, and with everything still selected, you copy it across. Now let's now check whether we did the right thing. You can just come to the last cell that you have here and then press F2, or you double click into the cell and see, okay, where is the referencing? See, it's referencing what? 20% here, and it's referencing 200,000 here. So that is what? That's correct. Are we together? I think some of this was not covered in the videos yet. In subsequent tutorials, you would still go through it, but this is how you do it. So this kind of referencing that we have here, where we don't have the $sign on both the column and the row, is what is commonly referred to as mixed referencing. Okay, so you have 3 types of referencing. Either it is relative, where there's no $sign in front of it, or it is absolute or fixed, where you have $sign both in front of the column and the row, or it is mixed, that is a mixture of relative and fixed. Some parts are relative, some parts are fixed. So in that case, either you have your column fixed and your row not fixed, or you have your row fixed and your column not fixed. Okay, we have someone who's asked a question. Daniel, I think you have a question. Daniel Abba, your hands are raised. You can go ahead and mute yourself and ask your question.
Hello.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, the thing is, um, I don't really understand how you did the cell referencing. It seems novel to me. I don't know if you could take it once more.
Okay, so I would take it once again, but I would ask you to also try to watch the tutorials, right? Are you on the Telegram group?
Hello?
Hello, are you on the Telegram group? Okay, absolute referencing. We have relative referencing. Then we have mixed referencing. Now, absolute referencing is just the normal one that you are used to. If I just say and I say equal to this, you see how it writes? It just tells me, okay, I've pointed at cell G8 and it just writes G8 there. And I put this thing health there. So this is, sorry, this is relative. Why is it relative? Is because if I drag this formula down and I check where is it, you see that it has moved from G8 to G9. So it's moved down with me as well. So it is relative. If I drag this formula, we just drag it across here. You see that my reference will move to what? From G8 to H8. Okay, that is fully relative. No matter where I drag it to, it is there, it is free. If I move one step further, my reference will also move one step further. If I move one step down, my reference will move one step down. If I will move a step up, my reference will move a step up. That's the relative, fully relative. It's the normal one that you do in Excel. You just say this times this. You've no putting any dollar sign or anything. That's relative. The second one is absolute, okay? And the absolute is what? Just as the name implies, absolute is fixed, don't change. If I say, okay, equals to this one, now this is cell G8. I'm saying equal to G8. Give me what is in G8. And I press my F4 key, okay? And I press my F4 key. You see I have a dollar sign in front of my column and a dollar sign in front of my row. Remember, columns are represented with letters, rows are represented with numbers. So I have two dollar signs here, one in front of my column and one in front of my row. This dollar sign here represents, okay, I am changing the referencing, right? And in this case, I have put both in front of my column and in front of my row. So both my column and my row is fixed, which means that G8 is fixed, is absolute. I have referenced cell G8 absolutely. And the meaning of that is this. If I drag this formula, just drag it down, see, copy it down like this, and I go to this one, you see, it does not leave G8. But in the other one that we did, if I say equal to health, and I press enter, I didn't put any dollar sign or anything, and I copy this down. See what happens here. It was in G8 before, now it has moved to G12. So it moves, okay, as I reference it. Let me use a better way to, let me use a better example. If I say equal to this is cell B9, okay, and I press enter, it tells me, okay, what I selected contains Alfred Marshall, and I copy it down. See what happens. It moves from cell B8 to cell B14. Okay, and it gives me what is in cell B14. But what happens when I say, okay, let's make it absolute, and I press my F4 on my keyboard, and it has a dollar sign in front of the column B and in front of the row 9, and I press enter, okay, and now fill it, copy it down again. See what happens. It's still saying Alfred Marshall. Why? Because if you check this any other one, you see that it did not leave cell B9. Meanwhile, in the previous one, it moved from what? From B9 to B10 to B11 because that one was relative. But this one now, you have fixed the reference to only cell B9 by adding a dollar sign in front of the column and in front of the row. So those are the two common ones, absolute and relative. So where this now becomes interesting and more useful is when you can now decide, okay, do I want to lock only the row and leave the column? Or do I want to lock only the column and leave the row? That's where it gets interesting. Okay, so I can say that, okay, I want to reference this cell B9. Okay, when I copy it down, I want it to move row by row by row by row because you're coming down the rows. But when I copy it across, I don't want it to move to this column, to this column, to this column. Because if you leave it as cell B9 now, okay, I say equal to B9 and I press enter, right? And I drag it to the right. See what happens. It has moved from what? B9 to C9, from column B to column C. So anytime you drag across, it moves to the next column. When you drag down, it moves to the next row. Okay. So what can I say? Okay, I want to reference this cell B9. When I copy it down, I want it to move from what? B9 to B10 to B. Basically move from Admiral Marshall to Adam Smith to Karl Marx to Maynard Keynes. But when I copy it to the side, across to the right, I don't want it to move from column B to column C. So just thinking about it, I'm saying that what? I want to lock it and leave it on this same column, but I want to allow it to be able to move to the next row. Are you following? Yeah, are you together now? Is the explanation better now? So I'm basically saying I want to copy it, right? Move it to the next row, but I don't want it to leave this column and move to the next column. So what do? I say, okay, for this column, lock it by putting a dollar sign in front of the column, but for the row, leave it. But instead of having to type this dollar sign manually, but those guys that created Excel, I've just set it in such a way that when you press the F4 key, it would rotate, right, through all the different referencing that you have. So when you press it the first time, it gives you a dollar sign in front of the column and the row. This is what? Absolute referencing. You have fixed it on cell B9. If you drag this formula down or across, it will always remain equal to B9. If I press my F4 again, what have I done now? Here, I've what? You see the dollar sign is not in front of B, it's in front of what? 9. So here is what? 9 represents what? Row. Because row are numbers, columns are what? Letters. So now, if you put as it's in front of 9, it means that what? The column is fixed, but the row is free. The row is fixed, but the column is free. So which is, if I copy this formula now, it will never leave that row 9, but it will move from column B to column C. Let's try it. Let's drag it to this side. See what happens. It has moved from column B to column C. But if I drag this one down, what happens? See, it does not leave what? Row 9. Do you get it now? It does not leave row 9. But when I drag it to the side, it still does not leave row 9. You see, it does not leave row 9, but it can move from column to column. It can move from column B to column C, but it can't leave row 9. Are we together? So that one is what? Locking the row, leaving the column free. The other way is to do what? Say, okay, press F4 again. Now I have locked the column, but the row is free. What happens in this one is that what? It will always reference column B. It will not move from column B to column C to column D. It will always be on column B, but it can move from row 9 to row 10 to row 11. Let's see it. If I drag this down, you see it's moved from row 9 to row 10 to row 11. But if I move it across, I expect it to move from what? From column B to column C and start giving me their gross salary. Will it happen? No, because I've done what? My reference contains what? A dollar sign in front of B that has locked column B, but left the row relative. So always give me what is on column B. Don't move to column C, but you can move from the row to the next row, to the next row, to the next row. So this one now is what we call mixed, because you have part of it as fixed and part of it as relative. Now, how does this all tie to our formula? In our formula now, we want to write it in such a way that if I drag it down, right, it will move from what? this row to this row to this row to this row to this row. And when I drag it across, I don't want it to move from B to C to D. I want it to see what? I'm sorry. Yes, I don't want it to move from B to D to C for the salary. I want it to always remain what? This same salary. Because for this row, it is supposed to be referencing this salary. For this place, it's supposed to be referencing this salary. Okay? So for the salary, I want it to always remain on column B, but it can move down each row. But for the percentages, when I copy this percentage down, yeah, if I copy it down, I don't want it to move from row 7 to row 8 to row 9. I want it to always remain on what? Row 7. But when I copy it across, I want it to move from where? From column D to column E to column F to column G. Are we together? Okay. I want it to move. So what I have to do is that, okay, equals to my salary. My salary, I said what? Don't leave column C, but you are free to move from row 9 to row 10. So I press F4, F4, F4 till I have the dollar sign only in front of the column. Multiplied by my rate, my percentage. For my percentage, I want what? Don't leave row 7, but you are free to move from what? Column D to column E to column F. So I need the dollar sign in front of what? The row, which is the number, row 7. So I press F4, no, F4, yes. So press my enter. Select the cell, drag it down, and do what? Drag it across. And you see what happens. When we drag it down, let's look at this last cell here. See what happens. It moved to the next row, Abi, but it still was on what? 50% because we've locked row 7 for the percentage. Let's look at this one. See what happened there. It moved down, right? But when we drag it across, if it was fully relative, it will have moved from this place to this place, but it didn't move because what? We have locked it on this row here. But for the percentage, it didn't come down. It didn't move from E7 to E8 to E9. It still remained on that row 7, but it moved from D to E. Okay? So if you check this last cell here now, you see that what? It has moved down, but it didn't move across. Because as you drag, if I say equal to this place now, okay, it gives me 100,000. If I drag it this way, what happens is that, sorry, what happens is that it moves together. Can you see? It's now referencing E14. If I drag it again, my reference will move. But when you change it to leave some parts fixed and some parts absolute, not everything moves. What we needed is what? Lock this row, this column, leave the row fixed. But yeah, lock this row, but leave the column fixed. Make sense? So that we can move on. Now, the reason why I am trying to say this is because a lot of the formulas, after you learn how the different functions in Excel work and what they do, the sweet part of it becomes when you now start mixing all of the referencing together. So that's what I'm just trying. So you may not immediately get it. It's the familiarity will come as you practice more. But just, try to work, just try to follow through to the best that you can. Okay, just try to follow through to the best that you can. So let's move over to task 2. Okay. Let me minimize this. All right. So this was the second task. And any questions yet? I'm trying to monitor the chat. Oh, you can't hear me. Wow. Is that the same for everyone? I can't increase my volume here. Maybe you should try to use earphones. If you have your earpiece with you, try to use it. If it's about the volume, it's not going to be from my end. It's going to be from your end. Okay. Okay. So let's I will try to speak more clearly. Maybe that will help I'm not sure it's too much from my end. So that was the first task. The second task was, here is a list of items we sold. Who we sold to. Okay, blessing. So here's a list of items we sold, who we sold to, and the original amount for which it was sold for. So if we were to give a discount of 7.5%, how much would we make from the sales? So what we need is what we have a list of items. We sold to Ebuka sanitizer for 658 either naira or dollar. We sold to Ebuka face masks, and we have it like that's a list of items that we sold to Ebuka. And then we've been given a discount of, we should apply a discount of 7.5%. But we want it, the question says, make your formula reference cell R7, which is where the discount is in calculating the discount amount. And we've been given a hint here that discount amount is sales times discount. So which means that what we need to say equal to sales amount, right, times the discount. Now, with your idea of referencing, you know that what, if I copy this formula down, what do you expect? I expect it to move from this 658 to 130, okay? And I expect the reference to my discount to also move down once. So let's see. Can you see? This one have moved down once. This one has also moved down once, because what, our referencing was relative. So what we need to do is what? We need to say equal to sales amount, but for the discount, always reference this cell, no matter where I copy the formula to, always keep it here. So I'll do what? I'll lock it by pressing my F4. Okay, so if I lock it, now I can copy the formula down. Now, sometimes you always drag it down like this, okay? But when you have a lot of items, let's say you have like 200, 300, or even 20,000 items, you can't be dragging down till you reach 20,000. What you do is this: you move your mouse to, you see that crosshair that you used to drag and fill the formula down, and you do what? Just double click. So when you double click, it just sends down the formula, okay, to the last cell. Then you can now go down and check and now see, okay, what's it referencing? This has moved down to the next sales amount, and it's still referencing R7, and R7 is what? Our discount here. Okay, so that's still correct. So we've done that, and then our sales, our amount paid will just be what? The sales amount minus the discount. Now you see all these ones, we've not changed referencing because we're just going to copy it down, right? And it's okay for it to move down. We're not dragging it across, so we don't need to worry about whether it is absolute or fixed or not. So that's task 2. Let's move over to, okay, task 2 is not done. Then it says you calculate some summary amount. Total sales amount without the discount. So that will be, if you've watched the tutorials, right, you've gone through some basic aggregation functions. So to find the total sales, that is the sum of all the sales amounts, we use the sum function. And to start every function, say equals to sum, okay? And then after you type a function name like this, Excel will try to guess that, okay, what are you trying to type? Is this sum? Is this sum? So we see that, okay, we want sum. And then you do what? You open your bracket. Now, sometimes you don't always have to open your bracket. Okay, what you can just do is this. When you start typing a formula equals to sum, and then you see that formula that is here, you can just press your what? Tab, the tab key on your keyboard. You just press tab. It will select the currently highlighted formula in, it's currently highlighted function in this list. So if I press tab, it selects sum. So it's equal to sum and then an open bracket to say, okay, what do you want me to sum? So I go to, in this case, I want sales amount without the discount. So I go to my sales amount, select it, okay? And now when you want to copy, you want to select a range of sales, I can just say all of this, right? I say all of this, and then I close my bracket and press enter. And see, I have the total sum with the discount. Are we together? Okay. So see, I have total sum with discount now. All right. The second one is what? What is the total sales amount Oh, okay, that was without the discount. What's the start sales amount with the discount? So I say equals to sum, press my tab, and then the one with discount is this. Because here the discount has been applied. Now, if you want to select a range of sales, let me just show you a few keyboard shortcuts. If I want to select everything from here down to the last cell, what I do is this: I select the first one, okay? I hold my control key, at the same time, hold my shift key, and then I press the down arrow, and all of them press together, and then it highlights it down to the last cell that is not empty. Okay, let's try that again. You select your first cell, hold control, hold shift, and you press the down arrow key, and then it selects everything. If you want to select everything on a row, I can say, okay, let me start from here and select everything to the right. I say, select the first cell, hold my control, my shift key, and I can press my left arrow in this case. I say, select everything on that row. All right, so it works in all directions. I can be here and say control shift up arrow. So it just goes to the last cell that is not empty and say control shift right arrow. It tries to find the last cell that is not empty. Okay, so we are going to use that now in entering our formula. So yeah, I'll say equals to sum. I press my tab to select the sum function. Then I come to the first cell here and I press what? Control shift down arrow. So it highlights all of those cells. I press my close bracket and I press enter. Now, you see that anytime you are typing a formula in a cell here, if you look up to the formula bar, you see you have the exact text that you have just written in that cell. Okay, so that means I can either enter a formula directly in the cell here, or I can come to the formula bar and enter the formula. It will still work the same way. That's why it's called the formula bar. Next one says what? How much is lost due to discount? It's just basically saying how much was the discounts that we gave. So we can either say equals to sum and sum all the discount amounts, or we can just say, okay, this is the amount with discounts and subtract it with the amount from the amount without discount and press enter. We have, the total, and you have the answer to all of those questions. So that's the second task. And then the third task was just to create a basic multiplication table. Okay, a basic multiplication table. And now, already you know that what's a multiplication table. 1 times 1, 1 times 2, 1 times 3, and here is what? 2 times 1, 2 times 2, 2 times 3. So what we need to do is what? We're still going to use that idea of referencing. So I want someone to unmute and just try and explain what you think we should do to answer this question in a very fast way. You don't have to be completely correct, but it is good for you to try. So I don't want to have to call on anyone. I just want someone to answer. I'm waiting. Let's not waste time. I'll call on somebody. Come on, Yeme, can you help us out? What do you think? How can we solve this task?
Hear me?
Yes,
Hello, can you hear me?
I hear you, Daniel.
Okay. What I think is this. We know, like you said, rows are numbers,
Yes.
and columns are alphabets.
Yes.
Just to recall. So for us to reference, now for us to be able to reference, we need to use the relative referencing. So what I think is we need to bring in our dollar sign, then looking at the column, it is on column AA, and the column AA, then if we should trace the row, it is on row 9.
Okay.
Then after that, all we have to do is click on the first one, then drag to the last
So
row.
just walk me through it now. I've typed my equals to and I've selected 1 here. Okay.
Yes.
So
all we have to do is to drag down.
F. Okay. I'm doing this now, and I should multiply by this, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So I just press enter. Okay.
Enter.
And I copy
Then we'll
it
drag
down.
it down.
Okay.
Yes.
But wow, we are getting some weird values. Let's see what's the problem. Oh, see, this one has moved down now.
Okay. I think we didn't lock our
Okay. What should we do? Let's see. So
I think we should lock our column.
So for this one, right, we should lock our column. So I'll press.
Yes, that's what I think.
Like this.
Yes.
Okay, and then multiply by this one.
By 1, yes.
So I should leave the reference like this.
Then we drag down.
Okay. So let's drag down. What's the problem now? Let's see what's here. Oh, it's not leaving this first one now. That's interesting.
Okay, the other sign, we have to lock the AA.
The AA, okay.
We have to lock the column now. We have to lock the column, then we free the row.
So if I press F for now, I should leave it like this.
You need to remove the column, the $ in front of this.
In front of which one? This way?
The Z, yeah. There's a column sign.
Okay,
there's a $ in front.
I should remove the one
in front of Z. Yeah.
Okay.
Eh?
Okay, so I should leave it like this.
No, remove. Yeah.
And then for this AA, I should leave it this way as well. Okay, I should bring $ in front of AA. Out of the one in front of 8. Okay. How about now? I guess we are back now. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. So you said I should do this, right?
Yeah. Yes. Sorry, I don't know why this $ is still in between 9, Z and 9.
Okay, I should remove the one in between Z and 9 as well.
Yeah. Yes.
I should leave it this way, right?
Yes. Let's see.
Okay.
If it will work.
It's not looking right.
It's not looking right? Oh, I don't know. That's what I can say.
All right, that's fine. I'm seeing someone said equals to Z9.
Okay, Z9. Oh, fuck.
And I should lock. Okay, I should do this, right? All right. So let's see.
Yes.
Okay, that works. Let's see if
that works. Sorry.
If we copy it across. Oh, I see. Okay, so it solved the locking of this one, but now it's not going across. Let's try another suggestion. Is in the chat. It says Z9 times this.
Z9 equals to Z9.
So I should lock Z here, and then to say I'm just typing what someone said in the chat for now.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, it works this way. Let's try this way. Oh wow. So I think blessing solved.
So what's the formula? Sorry, what's the formula?
The blessing solved it for us. This is it. Okay. So blessing,
I want to write it down.
Will you explain why this works, please? Just 30 seconds. No much time. Don't be shy.
Okay, like you said when you were doing the first example, you said that this is an example of mixed referencing. So we need to lock the first column, and then for the other part, we're going to lock the row so that it will be able to move freely.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, so that's just it. I will just explain it again. What we needed is this, right? Let me just delete this for now. So we needed a way that, we want to say 1 times 1, like when we are coming down this row, we want to be moving from 1 times 1, 2 times 1, 3 times 1, 4 times 1, 5 times 1, right? When we now copy it this way, we want it to move from 1 times 1, 2 times 1 to what? 1 times 2, 2 times 2, 3 times 2, 4 times 2. Okay, so as we copy the formula down, right? It must not stop referencing this up here. Must not stop referencing this row. As we are bringing it down, it must not stop referencing this row. But as we are copying it across, it must not stop referencing this column. Does it make sense now? So which means that for the reference on this part here, we need to keep column Z fixed. But on the reference to this part, we need to keep row 8 fixed. So what we do is what we say equals to, and we select this, and then we press F4. No, this one locks both of them. We press this one. No, this one locks the row. We press this one. This one locks what? The column. Multiplied by what we have up here. We press F4. This one locks everything. We press F4 again. This one locks the row. And that's what we want. So we press enter. And then copy this across to the end. And then I can just double click and it sends everything down to the last one. So I can now check to be sure. I can just let me zoom out a little bit. My mouse is behaving funky this morning. So I can just zoom out a little bit and check this last cell here and see. You can see where it's referencing 15 and 15 on both ends. Okay, so that's just it. And then the last aspect of this just says what? Equals to the sum of the resulting products that we have. So just sum this product. You know what the product is now? You did math in your secondary school. Product is just multiplication. So sum all of this. Now you see the good thing about the sum is that you don't only, when you're trying to sum, you don't necessarily have to sum only a column. Okay, you can sum a range. It can be a column, a single column, it can be a single row, it can be a range of cells. Now in the case where you are not able to select everything at once, like I've done here, you know, I gave a tip. I said what? Just select the start. All right, so I was trying to explain, if you are trying to refer to a range of cells that you can't just select everything with your mouse, what you do is this. You've typed your function equals to sum. You select this range, the first one, and then you do what? Control, Shift. In this case, I can say down first, right? And while everything is, I can still press again, Control, Shift, and I say right arrow. Do you get? I could also have said Control, Shift, right arrow, and then Control, Shift, down arrow. It still works to select a range like that. So I close this, press my enter, and I have my result. Now let's say I don't like the way this is formatted. Okay, I want it to have commas. What you do is what? You come over to your home tab. Now in your home tab, you can change a lot of the the look of what you have. In this case now, you can see that there's a lot of formatting applied to it. I've made it bold, I've added some borders to it, I changed the color of the cell here. All of those things can be done in this font group, right? So I can come here and say, okay, I don't want any border. So I was saying that, what if I want to change how this looks? I can just come here, select it, and I can, on this drop down here in my home tab under the fonts group, I can say no border. And you see all those lines that were there on off. I can come here, I can remove the bold, okay? I can make it italics, I can underline it, I can come here, I can fill the cell with any color I want. You know, you can do a lot of formatting to how it looks, okay? You can do a lot of formatting to how it looks. The other common formatting that is mostly needed is when you say you want to change how it looks. Like now, I don't just want this 25,200, I want it with commas. So I can come here and change the number format. You can see it as I'm just hovering, see the number format, and then you have a range of formats that you can do. Make it currency, counting, date, all of those things, percentage, and so on. So I can just select this and I can just click on this comma that you have here, and then see it has the comma and adds decimal places to it. So if I don't want decimal place, I have these two small icons here, and you see it. So the first one is to reduce decimal place. The second one, first one increases, second one decreases. So you just click, reduces, click, reduces. So you can change it to percentage, can change it to dollars and all of that. And if you now still want more formatting to do, if you click on this, okay, when it brings that drop down, you now go to more number formats. So it brings up this dialog box that you have here, and then you can now change the format. Say for the number, you want to put 1,000 separator, you want to increase the number of decimal places, you have the currency, you have a range of different formatting you can do, time, percentage, fraction, all of this. So anytime you want to do those kind of things, you don't need to start typing that, okay, because I want to put 25,200 and I press 25,200. Okay, you don't need to do that. All you need to do is just press 25,200 and then you change how it looks. Okay, so that's just that about formatting. And then just as I've said, you can add borders. Okay, you can add all borders. I can change the color of the border and all of those things. So the shortcut to, if you have a range of cells or you have a selected cell and you want to change the formatting for the cell, you press your control key and the one and number one in your keyboard. So control one, like control C, control V. So it opens this format cells dialog box that you saw that we went to open from the numbers group here. So here you can just change all the formatting you want for that cell, the number formatting, you want to change the alignment, you want to change the font, change the color, the size, all at once. You want to add borders, you want to change the color of the borders, you want to add some fill color, that is the background color for your cells. All of those things you can do in one go. And once you've applied everything, just press OK. Right? So the shortcut is that's what Control 1 to open the format cells dialog box. Control 1. All right. So that's the first task. Okay. If your attempt was similar to what we did, right, you can just say I did my best. Just type it in the chat. Let me see how many people were. Just type I did my best or I tried. No, I was once like this as well, right? Not knowing what it is that Excel can do. Okay, Emmanuel tried. Okay, Michael also tried. That's fine. That's fine. With more practice, we get better. Okay. All right. So let's move on to the next assignment. Assignment number 2. Okay. So assignment number 2 is, it's quite easy as well. Okay. Let's see, we'll judge now whether it's easy or not. So the task says what? You have been given the following sales extract and have been asked to do some analysis on it. All of the required questions have been written down. Can you assist with getting these numbers? I heard you have good Excel skills. So let's start first. So let's just glance at the questions that we have. We need to find the total sales amount, total cost of sales. Okay, so we need to first find all of this. All right. So how do we find the sales amount? It says sales price times units sold, so equals to sales price times units sold. So you can use your arrow keys as well to select. Okay, when where you want to select in your formula is closed, you can just use your arrow keys. So we've selected it, press enter. Now you see that some formatting has already been applied to it. It has commas, it has decimal place already. If you don't like it, just come to your home tab. Okay, reduce the number of decimal places if you want, remove the commas if you want, and all of that. So I'll just leave it the way it was. So once you've done the first one, all you have to do is copy down the formula. And now that I say you can copy the formula down, just come to the edge. Once your cursor changes to this little cross black, this little cross that is black, just double click, and then it sends down the formula. So if you go to the last cell, you see that what you have this times this. So the formula has moved down each row because of the referencing. So cost of sales equals to cost price multiplied by units sold. Press enter, and then I copy the formula down. Go to my profit. Profit is what? Sales amount minus cost of sales. Press enter. Don't worry about the numbers, just random stuff. And then press enter. Okay. So we have our cost of sales, we have our profits, we have our sales amount. Let's now see if we can answer these questions. So the total sales amount is what? Equals to sum, right? To find the sum, we use the sum function. So you type equals to sum, and then when you have this one, you see the function highlighted, just press tab. Then You tell the sum, well, where's the values you want to sum? So this is the sales amount. So I can just come here, select the first one, and press Control Shift down arrow. Okay, close my brackets and press enter. Now you see that you can't see the cell that you are editing, right? But if you look up to the formula bar, okay. So if you look up to the formula bar, you see that you have that reference zone. So anytime you're typing in the formula, you're like, oh, I can't see what I'm typing again. Just look up at the formula bar. You can always just click in the formula bar and edit what you want there. Press enter. So it has given us the total sales amount. Okay, so let's try for the cost of sales equals to sum. Okay, select the first cell, press Control Shift and down arrow, close the bracket and press enter. So I can just scroll up and say, okay, that's my total sales, total cost of sales. Profit, same thing, sum, profit, Control Shift down, close bracket, press enter. So what's the average sales? Now to find the average, there's already a function in Excel called, who can guess, average. So I can just type equals to, and I start pressing AVE, and I see the average, I put R. So it has highlighted the average function. I just press tab. Okay, so average sales price, I come to my sales price. While I'm still in edit for my formula, I select sales price, press Control Shift down arrow. I've selected the range of sales I wanted to find the average of, close my brackets and press enter. So the average sales price is 74. What's my average quantity sold? Equals to average, okay, quantity sold. Where's my quantity sold? This is my quantity sold, or my unit sold, same thing. Press Control Shift down arrow, close my brackets, press enter. So my average quantity sold is 1,456. So we're on track. It says, what is my max unit sold? That's the maximum unit sold. And there's already a function called max. So press equals to max, press tab. So it selects it and it adds the open bracket. So once after the open bracket, I say, okay, where is the values you want to find the max of? Select my unit sold, Control Shift down arrow, close bracket, press enter. So you get the gist already, right? Equals to max, equals to mean. So for the mean, equals to min, mean. Select unit sold, Control Shift down arrow, select all of those, close the bracket, press enter. So you have the max unit sold, mean unit sold. So the profit still also the same thing, equals to max. You do all of that. So I will do that later. Let's go to the number of records. So number of records is just want to count how many rows we have. Okay, and to do that, we have the function called what? Count, equals to, just press count. Okay, now you see the count function. Okay, if I just type the count, you see it says that what? Count, see this from this screen tip here. It says count the number of cells in a range that contain numbers. Okay, so that means I just need to give it a column of numbers and tell me the numbers that are there. So I can just say count, and I can select any column here. I can use my date, as long as it's number. I can use my unit sold, I can use my cost price. So let's just say I use my date, Control Shift down arrow, close the brackets, and press enter. Okay, so it tells me that I have 30 records. Awesome. So let's continue. So the max sales amount, the max sales price, the mean sales amount, the mean sales price, still use the what? The max and mean functions, but what you just be changing is what? The sales amount that you're referencing. Okay, let's look at this one here. So says bonus, and it says we should find the what? The third largest sales amount. That means if we arrange all our sales amounts from the highest to this one, looking for what? The third one. Now, so far we've only looked at the max function, and the max just basically tells us the what? The highest. But now we don't need the highest, we need the third highest. So we need to skip first, skip second, and go to third. And I know that this is not covered in tutorials, so that's why I gave a little hint here. You see that if you hover on this, it says what hint, use the large and small function. So now, anytime you see, you see you have a function that you don't know what it does, okay? There are two ways you can go about it. The first way is to just come to the top here, beside your formula bar, you have this small FX icon. And if you hover on it, it says what? Insert function. So I can click on it. And then I say, okay, what function am I looking for? They told me to use large. Let me just type large. And I press go. Okay, I see the large function here. I select it and I press OK. And before you press OK, you can even see it at the bottom here. It says what does large do? Large returns the kth largest value in a data set. For example, the 5th largest number. Okay, I press OK. And then it brings out this function argument dialog box. And then it tells me, okay, for this large function, I need two things. Number one is what? Array. And what's an array? An array is what? The range of data. See it here? The range of data for which you want to determine the case value. So the range of the array is just basically what? A range of cells. Okay, so where's my array? This one, let's say, now I'm looking for what? Third largest sales amount. So my array is going to be what? My sales amount. So I click in this array here, and I come and select my sales amount. Okay, so I select the first one, Control Shift. Now look at the, I've seen the dialog box. It's already typing the formula for me. So I press Control Shift down arrow. Okay, and it selects everything from H9 to H38. So that is my array. Next one is what? K. K, what is K? K is what? The position from the largest in the array or cell range of the value to return. K just basically saying, okay, the large function gives you the kth largest value. What's the largest value that you want to return? Is it the first? Is it the second? Is it the third? In this case, the question says to return the what? Third largest value. So I'll just, in my K here, I'll just press 3. So I've entered the two arguments for the function. I press OK. And see what? It has given me the answer here. So if I just double click, I see what it has typed. It type equals to large, and then it puts all of those things you saw in the dialog box is now here. Okay. So let's now try the second one. The second one says least units sold. So we've tried the large, well, large, largest, small, least. Let's try the small function since that's what the hint says. I can say equals to, and I start typing small. So I see my small. I want to look at the screen tip here. Small says what? Returns the kth smallest value in a data set. So it's basically doing the opposite of what the large function does. So I press small. And then first one is what? My array. You see, anytime you type in a function, it tells you, okay, these are what I need to actually do what you want me to do. So the first thing is what? My array. So where's my array? List units sold. I mean, my array is what? Units sold. So I come and look for my units sold. So I select the first one. I press what? Control Shift down arrow. And I do what? That's my array. I go up. I can just continue entering my formula in the formula bar here. So we've done the first one, which is the array. And then you see it says what? Comma. I press comma. So each of these components in a function are known as arguments. Okay, so the small function has two arguments. The first argument is what? Array. Second argument is what? K. Okay, and what is K? K is what? What I want to return, the largest or smallest. Okay, so in this case, since they said least units sold, I can just put small 1. Okay, that is the number 1 smallest unit sold. Okay, and I can close my bracket and press enter. And then I have the least units sold as 292. Now you will notice that the least units sold 292 is the same thing as what? The minimum units sold, which is the same. It makes sense, right? The least units sold is the minimum units sold. So that means that anytime you have used the small or the large function, for the large function, if I say large and I change this K here to 1, instead of 3, I change it to 1, you to equal the what? The maximum units sold. I'm sorry, to equal the maximum sales amount if you use the max function. And then if you use but the least unit sort, and you use the small function, and you make K1, it will be same thing as finding what mean of unit sort. Okay, so I'll just undo that so this one still remains 3. So that's just a little introduction to some function apart from the sum, the average, the count, the mean, the max. The large and small function as well are also used when you're trying to find minimum, maximum. Okay, so next one is to find the first sales date. And what is first? If you have between the first sales date and the last sales date, how would you find that? And this is the one other interesting thing that you need to know about Excel. Now, in Excel, okay, we are working with dates. Dates are numbers. All right, let me just go to this blank worksheet that I created here. If I type, what's today's date? Today is 12th of March. Yes. So if I just type 12/3/2022, okay, and I press enter, let me zoom on that a little bit. Okay, so you can see it clearly. So I type 12/ and you see that it has changed it to something else. Now, if you go to your home tab, okay, and look at this number group, look at the formatting it has applied to it. It has changed it to what? Date. It changed the format to what? Date. I can come here and say, okay, change it to general. What happens? Wow. I typed in 12/3/2022, and then it's telling me 44,632. What's the meaning of that? The meaning of that is this. In Excel, okay, dates are numbers. Okay, they are just numbers. In Excel, dates are numbers. And what does this 4,632 means? It's because in Excel, right, dates, the first date ever that you can use in Excel is the 1st of January 1900. Okay, so that means that if I type 1, just put number 1 here. Okay, I now change the formatting to the number format to short date. See what happens. It says 1100, but that 00 can mean anything. So let's come here, change the date, go to more number format, and under date, let's select a date that has a longer description. For example, I can select, let's just use this one. Let's use this one. And I say, okay. See what happens. It says what? Sunday, 1st of January, 1900. And what did I type in there initially? I just typed what? 1. So that's because that's the first day Excel recognizes. So this 4463 just means that what? 44,632 days away from this is what is today's date. Okay, so in essence, I'm just trying to tell you that what dates in Excel are just numbers. So because they are numbers, it means that you can do normal arithmetic with it: sum, minus, mean, max, average, even though it does not make sense to do average, but you can do arithmetic, just normal arithmetic with it. So if I go here now and I change this one back to formatting and I say short date or long date, you see it's today's date, Saturday, 12 March 2022. Okay, but you saw that if you remove the formatting and put it on general, it gives you as what? A number. Okay, so using that, having that at the back of our mind now, let's see how we can now find the first sales date and the last sales date. Since we know that it is numbers, means that what? Yesterday's date will be smaller than today's date, right? Yesterday's date will be smaller than today's date. So the first sales date will just be what? The minimum dates in our sale range, and the last sales days will be what? The maximum range. So I can just take advantage of that and say, okay, equals to mean, open my brackets, and then go and select my sales date, my first date, and my range of dates, and press what? Control Shift down arrow. Okay, close my bracket and press enter. And it says that my first sales date is what? 1st of September 2013. Now you see that it did not do it as a number. I can change the formatting to how I like. Come to the number format here in the home tab. I can go to more number formats. Okay, and then under date, I can just look for the most appropriate one that I want. Let's say I like this one. I can use this one. and then to show it the way I've chosen. Okay, so how do you now find the last sales date? Since I know that the range of sales for my dates is still the same thing, I can select this cell that I have typed the first formula, come here, and just copy the formula. Okay, or I can just copy only this range, so I don't have to type it all over again. Since I know it's still the same range, I can copy it, Control C, come to where I want to put in my actual formula now. I can type my formula either in the cell here, or I can type my formula in the formula bar here. I can come here and say equals to, in this case, I want to find the last cell, so that's max, equals to max, open my bracket, and I press Control V and put in the range that I already copied. Since I know it's still the same one, close my bracket, press enter, and then I have it as what? The 1st of December 2014. And that's the answer. Okay. So let's move to the other tasks. So these ones were, a little unusual, right? They were a little unusual for most people. And what we're reading, we're trying to say, it says, the question says, calculate the following for the specific country, product, or segment. Okay, so I'll do what now? Sales amount. I need to find what is the sales amount for Canada, what is the sales amount for Germany, what is the sales amount for France, Mexico. But I want to do it in such a way that I just type one formula, copy it down, right? So let's see if we can do that. Sales amount. What formula do you use when you want to do like a sum or a count, but you want to put a condition that, okay, only count for Canada, only count for Germany, right? Now, if you watch the videos, you would have been introduced to a function called SUMIFS and COUNTIFS. Okay, so those are the functions that we are going to use to do the summing here. So for sum based on a condition, we use the SUMIFS, right? So I'll just come here and I say equals to SUMIFS. Now there are two of it. We have SUMIF without the S, and we have SUMIFS. Now, most times, right, most people use SUMIFS. I actually prefer to use SUMIFS because it makes more sense when you start typing the formula, right? And then for the difference between the SUMIF and the SUMIFS, because for the SUMIF, you can only sum based on one criteria or one condition. But for the SUMIFS, you can give it, okay, where the country is Canada, where the segment is this, where this is that. So you can use the SUMIFS and supply more than one criteria. So let's use the SUMIFS because it's more easier to write. So I select the SUMIFS and I press tab. So the first thing the SUMIF asks me is what? What is my sum range? That is, where is the range of values that I want to sum? This case is my what? Sales amount. So I'll go and look for my sales amount. Okay, this is my sales amount. I'll select it. Press what? Control, Shift, down arrow. So I've done the first part, sum range. I'll press what now? Comma. So if you look at the formula bar, you'll see it there. The second one, the sum is asking for what? Is my what? My criteria range. So I want to do a sum, but based on a criteria. Where is the range that contains the criteria that I have to go and now start checking one by one? That's what the criteria range is. So in this case now, right, we want to sum based on country, right? If you look at it there, it's country. So my criteria range is going to be what? Country. So I'll go back to my data set and then try to look for country. Okay, this is country. I select the first one, Control, Shift, down arrow. I've selected everything. I press my what? Comma. So I have done the first part, right? Sum range, I've given the sum range, comma. Criteria range, I've given the criteria range. Next one is now what? Criteria. So I've given criteria range 1. What is now the criteria that you want me to go and look for to give you the sum? And that is going to be what? That is going to be our country here. So I select that, I close my bracket, and I press enter. And then it gives me that, okay, sum for Canada, this is the total sales amount. Now I can change the format and add, commas there. I just come in here, clicking this. So we've done for Canada. So let's see, can we just copy this down? So can we copy this down? Is this correct? Now we see that it has moved down to Germany, which seems fine. But let's now double click and see, okay, now it is referencing H10 to H39. Let's look at whether H10 to H39 is correct. Oh, see what happened now. It has what? It has moved down to the next range. But we don't want that, because we know that what? The range that we actually want to sum is always going to be from what? This H9 down to H38. It will never change from H9 to H38. So we need to make sure that no matter how we copy this formula, that sum range will always be what? H9 to H38. So what we'll do is what? We'll come to this formula now. Let's do it over in the formula bar. So you're also used to that. So we'll come to this now in the formula bar and say, okay, for this sum range, right? We want to make it fixed. And I'll press what? F4. So it will always refer to H9 to H38 where my sum is. And the same thing for my criteria range. So my criteria range will always be what? That's C9 to C38. So I'll click on this criteria range so that it can highlight everything here. And I will press F4 again. I've locked it. But for my criteria, I don't care. I want it to move down. Since I'm not going to be copying it to the left, I can leave it, the way it is. So I'll do this like this. I've locked my sum range. I've locked my criteria range. So I'll close my bracket and I'll press enter. So now I can now copy the formula down. I see that we have different values. Now let's check if we are correct. This is Canada, Germany, France, and Mexico. Those are not all the countries that we have here. So what we can do is this, okay? I want to show you some other things that you can do with it. So we can come here, select anywhere in the data sets that we have, okay? Come to the data tab, right? Under the data tab, in the sort and filter group, you just press this filter icon here. And see to add this drop down at the edge of all the headers, as long as you have a good data set. So now we can now filter down to only those countries. So let's go back there again and see what the countries are. So Canada, Germany, France, and Mexico. Okay, so I can come here and say, let me filter. All right, so I want only Canada, France, Germany, and Mexico. Now click OK. So it will filter my data sets, right, down to only those rows where the countries either Canada, Germany, France, or Mexico. So once I have that now, I can just come down to my sales amount here. And I can select the first one and press what? Control Shift down arrow to select everything that I now have unfiltered. Now, if you now look at the bottom of your Excel listing file, you will see that you now have some values. Okay. Now, for you guys, you may not have everything here. You may have only sum, count, and average. But the good thing there is that whenever you highlight a range of cells here, Excel will just quickly give you a quick summary. Okay. And this area of Excel is known as the what? The status bar. Okay. So you just come down to your status bar here, you see a sum. So, and okay, now everything I've selected, the sum is what? 2855224. So I can just have that in mind, or I can write it somewhere. And then I'll go back to the formula that I have done. So I can now go back to the formula that I have done and say, okay, let me sum all of this and see if I'm correct. I can say equals to sum, and then select everything like this, close my bracket and press enter. And I say, okay, yes, 2855224, which is the same thing with what we had there. So I know that I'm correct. So I don't need this again. I'll go back to my data set. I will remove this filter. So how do you remove a filter? Just select that arrow again, and then you see clear filter from country. So you click on it and it removes all the filter. So I've tested it that I'm correct. So I can move on now. Let's try and find the profits. So what is the profit? How do we find the profit for Germany? We still use the word SUMIFS. Okay, so equals to SUMIFS. Select the ifs. And then our sum range this time around is what? Profit. So we go and select our profit. Okay, Control Shift down arrow. We've given the sum range. Now we know that we're going to what? We're going to lock it because we know that it will always remain this range. So I'll press my what? F4 key. Locks it. Then I press comma. What's my criteria range? The criteria range is what? My country. I'll go here and look for my country range. Where's my country? This is my country. I'll go to the first cell, Control Shift down arrow. And I know I'm going to also lock it again. I press F4, comma. Where is my criteria? My criteria is country. This country here, right? I've given my sum range, my criteria range 1, and my criteria 1. Close the bracket and press enter. So, okay. Yeah. So, since for Canada we had a loss, so I can just copy this down and I can change the format and come to my home tab, just add commas. So it does, this one is accounting. If I don't like the accounting, you can come here. So you can just come here and change the formatting. If you don't want the brackets there, you can come here, right? Or you select here, more number formats, go to number, and then instead of this one I selected with the brackets, you can select the one with the negatives. Okay, press OK. Still works, right? Still works. So that's the profit. Now, what is the profit as a percentage of sales? It's just what? Equals to my profits, right? Divided by my sales amount. Now, many of us, we did this and then we now said multiply by 100, which is fine. Okay, but there's a better way to do it. Once I've done this division and I press enter, okay, I can just what? Copy it down. Now, you know that percentages are basically what? Decimals. So I can just come here and change the formatting to percentage. And it tells me that it's 31% minus 31, 9%. This one says minus 1 because the profit is greater than the sales amount. Don't worry about the accuracy of the values, right? But that's just it. You just need to divide this and then I change the formatting to percentage. If I want to add decimals, click decimal, add one more zero, add two more zeros. Okay, so 30.98%. You can change the formatting without changing the underlying value. Just do what? Profits divided by sales amount. Normally, you would have said profit divided by sales amount times 100, but in Excel, you don't have to do times 100. If you just want to see it like this, just do that and change the formatting to percentage because you already know that decimals are the same thing as percentage. 50% is what? 50 over 100, which is the same thing as what? 0.5. So decimals are percentages. So the same logic that we have done here is what we are going to do here again, right? Equals to SUMIFS, right? Go and look for your sales amount, lock it, press a comma. Criteria range in this case is product. Go and look for product, this product, Control Shift down, lock it with F4, comma, and then you select Montana, close it, press enter, and you do what? You copy it down. And I can change the formatting. All right, so going back, the logic that we applied here is basically what's going to be applied for this one as well. Profits for just going to be what equals to SUMIFS. You do the whole magic again. So I want to go to a more complex one because of time and see how we can do more than one condition. So you want to do a SUMIFS. Well, in this case, you want to sum it where the segment is government and the country is Canada. Now, we are still going to use the SUMIFS. So if I start typing equals to SUMIFS, select it and press tab, I can say, okay, what's my sum range? I'll go to my sales amount. Here's my sales amount. Here's my sales amount. Select it, Control Shift, down arrow, comma. My criteria range, let's go back to the question. Now, my first criteria is what? Segment. Okay, so I'll come to my segment. Where are my segments? This is my segment here. Select it. Okay, so you select your segment, Control Shift down arrow again, comma. It says what now? Criteria 1. Let me put it here. So it says what now? We've selected giving it some range, giving it criteria range 1. Now, what's criteria 1? So we've given it the range for the criteria. We now need to give it where the criteria is. And this is where the criteria is. So select that. And then we have given the first one, the segment range, and then the segment we want to check. We press what? Comma. It now saying what? Okay, you can now still give criteria range 2, criteria range 3 to about, I think, 200 plus or so. So you can give the SUMIFS multiple criteria. So what the SUMIFS is going to do is now going to say, okay, go here or go to the segment range that they have given you. Go and look for where it is government. And if you now have other criteria, go and also look for where it is. So in this case now, we've given it a segment. We want to also give it the what? The country. So what we do is what? We go and select, because criteria range 2 is what? Country. Select this, Control Shift down arrow, okay, comma. What's the criteria that we want to check against that range is what? This country. Okay, the criteria range we want to check against that one is what? This country. So I've given it what? Criteria range 1, criteria 1, criteria range 2, criteria 2. So I can close my bracket and press enter. And then it gives me the amount for where the segment is what? Government, and the country is Canada. So we can confirm that. If I go to my data set, I've added my filter icons by going to what? Data, sort and filter group, filter. So now I can now say, okay, where the segment is what? Government. I filter down to it. Then I say where the what? The country is Canada. And I filter down to that. And I just highlight this. And I check down here. What do I have? 678310. Okay. So if I want to clear the filter, there's no the number 678310. So if I want to clear these filters now, I'll just select anywhere here, go to my data tab, and you see this clear all. Okay. So you just click on it and it clears everything. So now I go and check, do I have 678310? Yes. So you see what it does. It does what? A sum. And it tries to merge all the conditions they have given it. So if you want to translate this in words, what you just basically told Excel is what? Sum. If the segment is equal to government and the country is equal to Canada. So this sales is giving us where this, giving us the total sales amount, where the segment is government and the country is Canada. So I can just change my formatting to commas, and then now I can't copy it down. Why can't I copy it down? Is because if I go to my formula bar here, you see that some of these ranges, the sum range, the criteria range, they are not fixed. So if I copy it down, they are going to move, but I want them to be what? Fixed. So I'll select sum range, F4 to lock it. Criteria range 1, F4 to lock it. Criteria range 2, F4 to lock it. I don't need to lock my criteria 1 and my criteria 2 because I want them what? To fill down as I copy it. So I'll just do that and press enter so that now I can come here and say copy down. Okay. Are we still together? Too fast, too slow? Let me see the chart. Okay. So just let me know. Are we still together? Are we still following? Okay, yes, you're still following. Awesome, awesome. Nice. All right. So that's just the SUMIFS with more than one criteria. So the same thing would apply to the profits. Now, how would this formula be different for the one for the profit is that what? Now come here. The only thing that is going to change is this sum range. The criteria are still the same. It's just the sum range that is going to change. So what I can do is what? I can just copy this formula so I don't have to type everything again. Copy. Okay. Come over to where I want to type my profits. Right? And then select it, go to my formula bar, paste what I've copied. And then just for this sum range here, I'll just copy all of this. I'll remove it. And then I'll go and select the sum range because there is supposed to be profit. So this is the profit. Select the profit, Control Shift down arrow, and then F4 to lock it. So I've given you the right sum range. If you check the other things, you see that it's still highlighting the right criteria. So, and these ones are already fixed. So just press enter, right? And then copy it down. Then I can change the formatting with this. So that's the SUMIFS with more than one criteria. Okay, that's assignment 2 done. Are we fine? So move to assignment 3. Because assignment 3 is just basically just a different example, right, of the SUMIFS. Okay. So let me see. Right. So for assignment 2 now, to find the total salary for each of these departments, we are just basically going to use SUMIFS the same way we have described for assignment 2. I don't want to go through most of that. I want to go to the one that I feel that a lot of people, had issues with, just because we're running out of time already. This past one. Okay, so let's now look at this one here. I know this one looks complex because you're like, how am I going to do this? So far with what I've explained, with all the assignment that we've walked through, does anyone have an idea how we would actually go about this one? So we want to find a salary breakdown by admin and by this thing grade. So we're saying, okay, give me the salary where the department is admin, and then the grade is GS1. Anyone wants to try? Okay, what do you think now that we actually need to do to find this? So let me just hide these cells so that to be easy to navigate. Anyone wants to try? Just try. So far, with everything we've discussed, with your attempt at the assignments, how do you think we should go about this? What functions do we need? What things do we need to consider? Just try, just try. Anyone? Manuel, Blessing, Hamza, Niolua, Moyeme, anyone wants to try? Michael, Valkis. Just give it a shot. You don't have, you don't have to be sure. I just want to, do you have an idea? What do you think? Okay, let me see the chat. Say, can we lock a word in quotations? Yes, you can do that. We'll show you that in a bit. Okay, well, since we don't have any suggestion. Oh, okay. What you did was, okay, equals to SUMIFS. You gave the range and then you wrote where it is admin and then where it is JS1. Okay, fine. Yes, it's the same way as the multiplication table. Yes, we're going to apply some ideas from that. Yes, and then we're also going to use the SUMIFS function just as Emmanuel has written. So we are going to write the SUMIFS function, but then we are going to now take into account, that reference that I was saying. Okay, if we fill it down, do we want to keep this place locked? We want to keep this one, this part fixed, this part relative. So let's walk through it together. So we have a list of employee information. Okay. Nothing too complex here. Employee ID, name, last name, the hire date. So it's random data. So you don't go and start taking, you will find these people in real life. I'm sorry for you if you can't start looking for them. Okay, so it's just random data. The employee name, the first name, last name, hire dates, departments, the grade, and the basic salary. What we want to do now is this. We want to find the sum, the breakdown of the salary, and say, okay, where the admin, where the department is admin and the grade is GS1, what is the total salary that we are paying to those combination of people? Okay, so we'll start as usual, equals to SUMIFS. Okay, our sum range is what? Basic salary. If I select the first range in the basic salary, Control Shift down arrow. So it highlights all of the basic salary out of the columns in that basic salary up to where I have values. Okay, I press comma. Let me just scroll back up. Now, if you are typing a formula, you want to go back to where you're editing. If you don't want to scroll, if you just press Control and backspace, not delete, the backspace key on your keyboard, Control backspace will take you back to the cell you're editing. So we've given it the sum range. Okay, the next one is what? The criteria range. What's the criteria range? Let's start with the first criteria. The first criteria we have is what? Department. So we call select our department range, Control Shift down arrow, Control backspace. That's the criteria range one, comma. What's our criteria? Criteria is what? This cell here, admin. So now if I just close this and press enter, what I have here is what? The total salary for admin, right? Total salary for admin. But we want to do more than that now. We want to also include the grade. Okay, so I'll come here, or I can just use my formula bar to edit it so that it will be easy to write along a long line. So just right before the comma, right before the last close bracket, so that I can continue writing my formula. So I've given it sum range one, sum range, I've given it criteria range one, I've given it criteria one. Next thing I want to do is what? To move into criteria range two. So I must add a what? A comma. Okay, so now what's my criteria range two? Is what? The grade. Okay, so I select the grade, Control Shift down arrow, Control backspace to go back up. So I've given it the criteria range two, which is a grade, and I press comma. And then what's my criteria two? Where's my grade? Is what? In this cell here. I select that. And then so I've given it this, I've given it this, and I'll press enter. So currently now, this formula is working. It's giving me what? The sum if the department is admin and if the grade is what? GS1. So we have written the formula correctly now. Let's now start worrying about cell referencing. So if I just come here, now let's now walk through each of the arguments that I've given it. Sum range. Okay, let me bring up the chart so that we can do this together. Okay. So sum range now. What reference do we need to apply to our sum range? Because now we know that this sum range, if we copy it down and we copy it to the right, do we want the range to change? Yes or no? Just type in the chat. Or you can unmute to make it faster. Yes, no. I want to know that you guys are following. No, exactly. So we don't want the sum range to change. So what I need to do is what? I need to fix it. I need to make the reference what? Absolute. So I can just select this so that it highlights that range. And I press F4. So it locks that cell range from G8 to G313. So that if I copy it, it's always referred to that range. Let's look at our criteria range one. Now, criteria range one is what? Our department, right? The range of department where it wants to look. Do we want it to also change, or do you want it to move as we copy down the formula? Yes, no. Looking at the chart.
No.
No, exactly. So We select that again, and then we press what? F4 to apply what? Absolute, both for the row and the columns. So we fix that. Let's now look at the next one, criteria 1. And what's criteria 1 is what? This admin here that we've selected. Now, what kind of referencing do we want to apply to that admin? Because now you know that in this case, for the admin, when we copy it down, we want it to what? To move from admin to branding to business service to finance. But when we copy it to the right, we don't want it to leave that column and move to column S. Do you get? So what kind of reference are we going to apply here now? Anyone?
Lock R and leave 11.
Awesome. That's very correct. So we lock R and leave 11. So I press F4, F4. So now we see that, okay, yes, lock column R, that's very correct. So you see that we have the dollar sign in front of what? R. So which means that row, column R is what? Locked, but the row is what? Free. So it's always move down to the next row, but will not leave column R. Next one is our criteria range 2. And our criteria range 2 is what? The list of the grades here. Do we want it fixed, absolute, mixed? How do we want it? Waiting. I'm waiting. Oh, we want it fixed. We want it relative. What kind of reference do we want to apply to criteria range 2?
Fixed.
Fixed. So we're going to make it fully absolute and press F4 once, and it locks both the row and the column. Now for criteria 2, which is our what? Our department here that we have here. How do we want that one? Do we want it fixed? Do we want it mixed? What are we going to lock? What are we going to leave free? Anyone?
Lock 10, leave S.
So we lock 10 and leave S. So tell me when to stop pressing F4. I press F4. Do I change? Do I still press F4?
Yes.
Okay, I pressed F4. Do I still press F4?
Lock S. No.
No. All right. So that's correct. So we've applied now the right referencing, and I'll press enter. So now we have typed in the formula. Let's now see if it works. Okay. This is the moment of truth. Drum roll. I'll fill down now. Go to the last cell and see. Okay. See, it is referencing technology, which is correct, and it's still referencing JS1. So we are happy. Yes. So let's now copy it across. Copy down. And let's just check this last cell here. You can see it's still highlighting admin, and then you see it's highlighting S3 here. So you press escape to leave that. Like if you edit the cell, you want to just come out of it without changing it, just press escape. So let's go to the last cell here. And you see that what is referencing technology and is referencing S3. And if you go to your sum range, criteria range, you see that what is still referencing the right list. It has not moved. Okay, it has not moved. So that's correct. Just press escape to leave that. And this exactly, you said less stress. Yeah. So this is the best way to have attempted the assignment. Now I saw the submission. Some of you tried, some of you, you did this one, you locked only this, then you copy, type. Some of you actually typed it manually. So you that type manually, admin, this, like you are the real G. But it's fine. It's part of the learning process. You've learned that now, and you most likely won't do that subsequently. So that's how to use the SUMIFS. Now, let's just go swiftly to the next example, because there are two cases in this example here that I want to introduce. Okay, when it comes to referencing, text and values and using it with your COUNTIFS and your SUMIFS. So for assignment 2, the situation is still very similar to what we've done in assignment 1. In this case, it says that a friend of yours conducted a survey to see the level of job satisfaction among some employees. He got back 6,000 plus responses, and he has some analysis around the data that he would like you to help him with. Can you leverage your excellent Excel skills to help him? So let's just look at the data we have. We have age, marital status, whether they are retired or not, the years with the current employer, the job satisfaction, and gender. Now, as a tip, anytime you are working with data in Excel, you download data from somewhere or someone sends you data, the first thing you should always do, which you've not done previously, is to always look at what you have. Okay, try and understand how many rows, how many columns, what are the columns that you have in the data set. So in this one now, I want to see where is the last row. So how do I go to the last cell without having to come to my scroll bar at the right here and start dragging down? Okay, what if I have 100,000 records? What you do is this: just select the first cell that you have in data set, okay, and then you hold your control key. Now previously you've been using control shift, but this stage we're not going to press shift. Just hold your control key and then press your down arrow. So what that does is what it goes down and search till it gets to the last cell that is not empty. So we see that this is up to what 6,407. So we are looking at around 6,400 values. And what you could also do to go back up is what? Control up arrow. Okay, so you have control down arrow to go to the last non-blank cell and control up arrow to go back to the top. So what if, okay, I want to see, okay, how many rows do I have here? Okay, I can just select this first cell and now press what? Control Shift down arrow. And if you look at the bottom here in your status bar, you see what? First count. Count is what? 6,400. So I have an idea. Okay, I'm dealing with 6,400 rows. We have the age, we have the marital status, and all of that. So I can just press Control up arrow, or sometimes if you don't go back to the top and you're far into your cell, you can press Control and Home. So if you have the Home key on your keyboard, you just press Control and Home. What that does is what? It takes you to cell A1. Okay, so let's say I was down here and I press Control Home. What it does is what? It brings you to cell A1. All right. And if it's that you were in this data set and you want to highlight everything, you press what? Control A. And it selects everything down to that last 6,400 number. All right. So let's now work with the task. Okay. So what we want to do is what? Just do some basic aggregations. For each of the job satisfaction, we want to see what are the number of persons that were highly satisfied, somewhat satisfied, neutral, and somewhat satisfied, and all of that. So we've used the SUMIFS. There is also a counterpart known as what? The COUNTIFS. Okay, so I start equals to count. And I see a list of functions that start with count. The only one I need in this word is what? COUNTIFS. Just as you have COUNTIF and COUNTIFS, you have SUMIF and SUMIFS. So the difference between the if and the ifs is that for the if, you can only give it one criteria range, one criteria. But for the COUNTIFS, you can give it more than one criteria. Okay, so most times always just use, as for me, I just prefer to use the COUNTIFS. Number one, because the arguments are a little bit simpler compared to the COUNTIF. And then number two is if I want to increase the number of criteria, I don't have to change the function I'm using. So I come here, select my COUNTIF, just using my arrow keys. And then once I've highlighted COUNTIFs, I press tab. Okay, so it selects the function. And then the first thing COUNTIF just says what? What's the criteria range? Now, because in this one we are not summing, so there's no need for summary. It already tells us, okay, the first thing that COUNTIF wants is what? The criteria range. And we're doing a count against what? Job satisfaction. So I come here, select everything in job satisfaction, Control Shift, down arrow. How do I say you go back up to the cell you're editing? Control backspace. So I've selected everything from E8 to E6407. I press comma. What is my criteria one? My criteria one is this. Okay. Now I know that's what I need to do some locking. Okay, I need to lock this criteria range so that when I copy it down, it doesn't move down. So I select this criteria range 1 and I press F4. Oh, sorry, Ctrl Z. Select this and press F4. Okay, so now I can come to the end here, close my brackets and press enter. So I can now copy this down. And then I have what? Highly satisfied, you have 1,224, somewhat satisfied 1,406, and all of that. So in this case now, there are only 5 categories for the job satisfaction. So that means that the total of all of this must be what? 6,400. And as I've highlighted everything here, I can check my status bar at the bottom and you see that we have 6,400 here. Okay. Next is what now says find it as a percentage of the total. So to make it easy, I can come here and say, okay, give me the sum. Now, a fast way to do the sum, if you don't want to type equals to sum, okay, and then say sum and select all of this, all you can do is what? Press the Alt key, Alt, the Alt key on your keyboard. You press Alt and equals to. Excel will automatically do the sum. Now, what is that Alt and equals to? Is this. If you come to your home tab, okay, in your home tab, where is it, Seth? Yes, if you come to your home tab, you will see Autosum. Sorry. You would see Autosum here, okay? So if you just hover on that Autosum, you see that what there is a shortcut for it. Sum and then into brackets what? Alt plus equals to. So if I want to do a sum quickly, I can just press Alt plus equals to. So I can come here and say Alt equals to. So it's to do what? Type the sum function, try and guess the range. If it doesn't guess the range correctly, I can just come to the edge here and expand the range to how I want. Do you get? So I just want this and I press enter. So the total is 6,400. So I need to find the percentage of total, that is 1,224 divided by 64, 14,606 divided by 64, and all of that. So I say equals to, select this, divided by this. Well, let's now see, you know that if I copy this down, what's going to happen? I can copy this down and I'm seeing an error. What's this? Double click and see that what? This one has moved down because I copied down. This one has moved down. But this one has also what? Moved down. And what do I want? I don't want it to leave this cell K13, this 64. I always want it to reference 6,400. So I need to do what? I need to lock the reference to 64. So I'll come back here to my formula that I was editing. And then this is the C4. This is the one for the 6,400. So I'll select it and press F4. So that's what? Absolute. So it's going to lock it on 6,004 here. So even when I copy it down, it always remains 6,004. So I'll press enter. Okay. And then I'll copy it down. So if I come to this last cell and I double click to confirm, you see that was it's still referencing 64. But this one was what? Has moved. So then I can now change this to what? Percentage formatting. Come to my home tab. And then I can just select percentage here. Then you have the percentage formatting. So highly satisfied is 19%, somewhat satisfied 22%, neutral 22%, somewhat dissatisfied 20%, highly dissatisfied 17%. So the same thing we can also do for this one. Now this one is also like the previous examples that we've seen. Now we have more than one criteria. We want to do job satisfaction where is what? Highly satisfied, and they want to see male versus female. So we're going to do what? COUNTIFS, where job satisfaction is this and the gender is this. So I come here and say equals to COUNTIFS. Okay, criteria range 1 is my job satisfaction. I select job satisfaction, Control Shift down arrow, F4 to lock it. Okay, comma. What's my criteria 1? This is my criteria 1. Right? This is my criteria 1, comma. What's my criteria range 2 is my what? My gender. here. So I select the gender, Control Shift down arrow, lock it with F4, comma. What's my criteria 2? This is my criteria 2. So I close it and press enter. Now, you know that if I copy this formula down, it's going to give me error because what? If you come here, this one has come down, but this one too has also come down. So I need to do some what? Absolute, relative, mixed referencing here. So if I undo and say, okay, what do I need to lock now? I've locked my ranges, my criteria range 1 and 2, I've locked it, but my criteria 1 now, I need to what? Lock the column, but leave the row fixed. So I'll do what? I press F4, 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 till I see the dollar sign in front of J. So my criteria 2, I need to do what this time? Lock the row, but leave the column fixed. I press F4, F4. So it's till I see the dollar sign in front of 20. So I enter, and then now I can do what? Drag across or drag down first, and then drag this down. So if you come to the last cell here, you see that what is referencing the right places, and our ranges as well has not changed. Okay. So 5 minutes before this ends again. All right. So far so good. Yes or no? Are we together? Is it interesting? Okay. Seems only Emmanuel has been active and blessing. I'm expecting responses from you as well. Okay. All right. That's been interesting, right? Yes. Excel is fun. Basically, Excel is fun, real fun. Okay. And these are some of the things that we would have loved that, it's part of our curriculum in school, but we'll try our best as NESA as a whole, we'll try our best to, make this make this possible. I've been talking for hours. Yes, I know, but I have to. Okay, we'll soon round up. This is going to be the last case study. So if the meeting ends again, just join back as we have been. All right. So let me just zoom a bit. Okay. So for the number of persons by gender, number of persons by marital status, it's still the same logic here. So you can try that out again and see, did I do it well, did I not do it well? So the one I want to now show you is we'll do this, but I want to do this first. Now, this one is slightly interesting. It's because now we are trying to do a calculation based on, a range, but we have an upper and lower boundary. So for this, we want to say, okay, what are the number of persons that were between the ages 11 and 20? Okay, so if you want to translate that into Excel terms, we are trying to say that what the number of people where the age is what? Greater than or equal to 11, and the age is what? Less than or equal to 20. Okay, so there is what we call logical tests. Logical tests. And what logical test is, they are just what? An evaluation that returns either true or false. All right, an evaluation that returns either true or false. So there are, I think, about 6 different kinds of logical tests you can do. You can test equals to. Okay, you can test greater than. You can test less than. Let me increase the font a little bit. Okay, so you can test equals to, you can test greater than, you can test less than. You can also now test greater than or equal to. This is how we write it in Excel. Greater than or equal to. You can test less than or equal to. And then if you want to now test not equal to, we write it as this, less than, greater than. So we just write this, and this is how we specify not equal to. Okay, so maybe I should just write it in a much simpler way. So this is, was it equal to? So this is less than. This is greater than, this is greater than or equal to, sorry, greater than or equal to, and you have less than or equal to, and then you have not equal to. So these are different kind of, we call this, we call them logical operators. Okay, this is just like technical term, just call them logical operators. And with these logical operators, you can do logical tests. Okay, so let me just do a few examples, right? If I say, now, if you want to do any calculation in Excel, you always have what? Equals to. So I can say, is this value equal to 11? Excel give me true, false. Let me just copy this down and see. So I was explaining that we have logical operators, and with logical operators, we can evaluate logical tests. Okay, so if you just say equals to and say, is this value equal to 11? Okay, Excel will give you either true or false. Okay, we can say, okay, equals to, is this value greater than or equal to 20? You know that is false, right? It's not greater than or equal to 20. You can say, is this value not equal to, let's just say, is this value not equal to 12? Yes, the value is not equal to 12. Again, so you can use all of these operators to do, greater than, less than, greater than, equal to, and all of that. So let's now use it for our COUNTIFS, because what we want to now do is what? We want to say COUNTIF where what? The age is greater than or equal to 11, and where the age is what? Less than or equal to 20. Now, this is how we do it. We say equals to, sorry. Okay. So we say equals to COUNTIFS, and our criteria range is what? Age. So I'll come here. These are criteria range because we're checking against age. Control Shift, down arrow, Control backspace, and I'm going to do what? Unlock it immediately. Press F4, comma. This is now the interesting aspect. Is what? The criteria is now what? We want to check. First criteria is he greater than or equal to this cell 11? Are we? Comma. The criteria range 2 is still what? It's still our age. So I can just copy it here. Control C. Select criteria range 2. Control V. And press comma. Since it's still the same range. And then my criteria 2 is now what? Greater than or equal to 20. Close my bracket and press enter. Okay, how is that? All right, so you see that it didn't allow me enter it, and that's this. The reason is this: when you want to do when we want to use COUNTIFS, and in COUNTIFS you want to do a logical this thing, you want to do logical conditions, you want to use equal to, less than or equal to, you have to put those logical operators in double quotes. So you put double quotes here, and you put double quotes here. So you now put that double, after putting the double quotes, you now need to do what? Join it together with this reference that you have. And how do you do that? Use what? This AND symbol. Okay, so you put your logical operators in double quotes, and then you join it. This AND symbol represents join, and then you join it with the the values that you are comparing it against. And same thing we are going to do here as well. Double quotes for our logical operators, and then we join it together with cell P20, which is the value we have here. And then now when we press enter, you see that it works. Let me explain the join, that AND symbol. Now, if you just scroll down here and just do a quick example. When you want to reference numbers, okay, if I say equals to 12 plus 12, enter, it works. It gives me 24. If I want to reference text, I can't say equals to, let's say, Ima, and I press enter. It won't work. What I need to do is what? To reference a text in a function, I need to put it in double quotes, equals to Ima. I put it in a double quote and I press enter, it works. Okay, so anytime you're in a function and you want to reference is text, you have to put it in double quotes. But if it is numbers, just type in numbers directly. Now, the other one that we showed you, there are still subsequent classes where we'll use that joining aspect more extensively. But just for you to understand why this is working, is this. If I wanted to say, okay, I want to join, let's say I have Ima. Let's say I have Ima here. And then here I have a, let me see. Let me just say, okay, let's say I have Bolaji, and then I have Olatunde, which is my surname, for example. Okay. And then in this cell here, I want to now have Bolaji, Olatunde together. I can just say equals to this, and then join it with this ampersand function, and then select this and press enter. So that's what that function does. It joins it together. Okay. Now, why we had to use it in this SUMIFS function is because what? This greater than or equal to, even though it's a logical operator, it is what? It is text. And then we want to use text, and then at the same time, we want to use number, because no, this O20 is referring to what? Yeah, this cell here, and that's 11. So we want to join text and number together. That's why we have to do what? Put the text in double quotes, join it using this and was called ampersand, using this ampersand, and then reference the cell for the numbers. Okay, so that's why we use this. In subsequent classes, when we start dealing with text functions and working with text, you'll see this in much more depth. All right, so once you've entered the formula like this, COUNTIFS will give you your count range, your criteria range 2, and your criteria. Just now you can copy it down because you've used all the proper referencing. Then once you copy it down, you have all the ages, all the number of persons between each of these ages. Then you can now do further analysis on it. So that's with when you're trying to work with numbers with SUMIFS, just as we've done with COUNTIFS, it also works with SUMIFS. So this question was just added, right? I knew most people won't be able to do this for some certain reasons, which I'll explain now. Now, average age, you want us to say, okay, for the males, what are their average age? So today we've looked at SUMIFS, we've looked at COUNTIFS. We also have average ifs. Now, and we also have max ifs, and we also have mean ifs. Okay, so is there a question? Okay, okay. So depending on the version of Excel you have, these max if, min ifs, and average ifs might not be there. Okay, I can't remember which version of Excel they were included. Okay, but you won't see average ifs, min ifs, and max ifs in all the versions of Excel. But the way they work is exactly how the SUMIFS and COUNTIFS work. So in case you have a later version of Excel, you can always just try it. So for the average age now, just say equals to average ifs. Okay, average range, just before you had some range, count range, now is what average range. So we're doing is what age. So I'll come here and select my age, Control Shift down, F4, comma, my criteria range is what? Gender. Select my gender, Control Shift, down arrow, F4, comma, and my criteria is what? Yeah, close my brackets, press enter, copy it down. So the average age for the male is 42.377. I can reduce the number of decimal places by coming to my home tab and just do what? Reduce till I'm satisfied. Okay. So the same thing with highest age. Do what? Max ifs. For lowest age, min ifs. All right. So I can just copy this. Okay. Because I know that the only thing that is going to change there is this function here. So here is going to be max ifs. See, you still have what? Same thing, max range, criteria range 1, criteria range 2. So all those something if, something if function, they are all the same thing. Same thing with the min ifs. I just need to change this one to what? Min ifs. So you still have what? Min range, criteria range, and all of that. So and then I can just copy this down. And it seems that the average lowest age for male is 77. Sorry, highest age for male is 77, lowest age for female is, highest age for female is 76, and the lowest age for male and female is the same thing. So depending on your version of Excel, you might not have max ifs, average ifs, and min ifs. All right. So I guess we can, end there for today. We've gone through at least practically most of the complex part of the assignment that was given. All right. And just now, I just want to hear from you guys. You can unmute your mic, you can speak. How has the session been so far? Exciting, boring? Wow, I didn't know Excel can do this. So you can unmute yourself, you can talk, you can send, okay? And whenever says exciting for real. Yeah, Excel can be
Yeah, it's very exciting.
Okay. Very exciting, yes, that's fine. That's awesome. Okay, you're going to try the assignment again. Yes, that is very, very, very good to hear. And that's very good for everyone on the call. You can always do that and try the assignment again. That's the essence of these sessions, We give you the assignment, you try it out, see the solution, you go back, you try it again, you practice, it becomes much more, you become much more familiar with it, more conversant with it. And trust me, the only way you get better with Excel is through practice. Someone says very interesting. Someone says, wow, yes. Yeah. This, I like the reaction I'm getting. So it's just the same for me. How it was, you're wondering how it was possible to solve those questions. Well, now you know, right? Now you know, that's a good part. That's a good part. So, yes, that's nice, that's nice. So now we know you're getting better with Excel, you're learning the basics, we move step by step. Start with functions, learn the formulas, learn how Excel works, you can change the formatting, fill color, you do the borders, open a new worksheet, all of those things, hide cells, all of those things. So progress gradually. So far, we're only working with, count, sum, average, SUMIFS, COUNTIFS, all of that. The next set of videos that we're going to recommend to watch. Okay, glad to hear that about kids. It was interesting and you're glad you're here. That is very nice to hear. So this next set of videos we are going to ask you guys to watch would be on, I can't remember now, but I think it's pivot tables. So pivot tables are one of the very, 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 very powerful features that you have in Excel, right? All of the things that we have just done with COUNTIFS and SUMIFS, with pivot tables, you will do it in just one click, right? You just click here, drag this here, without typing any formula, and it will give you the response immediately. Okay, so as a, let's just say side assignment, after you watch the next set of videos on your current assignment sheet, okay, if you just right click on the sheets that you have there, you would see hide, unhide. So if you click on unhide, there is an assignment 5 that includes that pivot table. Okay, so once you watch the set of videos for this week, you can just attempt that assignment 5 as a test run, and then you get the next assignments for the following week. Okay, so what else I want to ask you guys? Are you okay with the date that we send out the assignments? Because we send out the assignment on Thursdays, and we ask you to turn it in by Friday evening. Now, we did that so that you would always, want to do the assignments. I'm not supposed to tell you this, but I'm telling you now. We did that so you always want to do the assignment. Okay, we don't want to give you the assignment on Monday and then you not say you forgot. But if we give you on Thursday and you have to submit on Friday, you have no choice but to do it. And the only way to get the best out of this training is by doing the assignment. Try it. You get it wrong, you try again, you get it wrong, you try again. The more times you try and get it correctly, the next time you try to do it, you just be like, oh, Excel expert, you type the formulas and it works. Okay. So I think that would be most of it from my end. Do we have any questions? Any questions? Let's see. So this is me again. For those that have not seen me before, I'm also a student like you guys. Okay, so do you have any questions? Now you can just chat for the next 5 minutes. Is there anything you would like for us to incorporate into the training? Is there anything you would like for us to incorporate? You can drop it in the chat so you can unmute yourself and let us know. I'm checking the chat now. Okay. Hamza, do you have something to say? Okay. Well, it seems we are fine with the structure so far, so that's great. All right, so thank you guys. We'll see you again next week, I guess. Okay, you have a question. We haven't looked at VLOOKUP. Yes, we have not looked at VLOOKUP yet. Okay, we are trying to take it step by step. We are going to consider, VLOOKUP, index and match, text functions, the left, the right function, the mid function, substitute, clean, trim. Those are all Excel functions that we look at. Subtotals, pivot tables, a whole lot. Creating charts, data visualization, working with Excel tables. There's a lot packed for you guys. Okay, so just enjoy the ride as we progress step by step. Don't rush, okay? Don't rush. All right. Yes, you're welcome, Emmanuel. So, any other question? Before we call it a day. And okay, what I would also do, I would send this Excel file with the solution. Okay, solution made available on our Telegram chat. And as for the recording of the class, it's not guaranteed yet. Okay, it's not guaranteed yet, but we'll try and see if we can make the recording available. We'll try and see on that. Okay. So, any questions? Next 2 minutes. If you have your questions. Okay, you're welcome, Hamza. We're glad that you're enjoying it and you're gaining from it. Everyone is at home now, strike, you don't know how long. It's good to always make time to learn, these skills. Because when you get to the workplace, trust me, no one is going to expect that you don't know Excel. It's almost as if they expect that, oh, do you know Excel? Yes. Can you use Word? Yes. Can you use PowerPoint? Yes. So we are trying to bridge that gap and make the students, more ready, at least at the most basic level, so that from there you can always progress. Okay. The last thing I will do after the call is that we introduce you guys to an Excel group. So it's a community of Excel users across the country. There are a lot of experts there. There are about 1,700 people on the group. Okay. Today's lecture file will be available before 3 p.m. Before 3 p.m. Okay. Before 3 p.m. So I will introduce you guys to the Excel group, right? There are a lot of experts there, and there is always discussions on different things in Excel. Now, most of them you won't understand yet, but why I want you guys to be part of the group is so that you see the kind of things that people can do with Excel, and then you are motivated to learn. And even after you learn, maybe one day in your job or you have a task that you're trying to do and you need help, you can always post it on the group. There are a lot of people that are ready to help you, okay, on the group. A lot of people are ready to help you. So I will make the link to the group available. You get it on the Telegram group chat. So you get the link and then make sure to join the group. Don't be intimidated at first when you see the kind of complex stuff that they begin to do. Just know that, yes, this is the level of competence that you are going to get to. It's gradual, okay? It's gradual. All right. So that's all. Any other thing? Looking at the chat, you can unmute yourself if you want to see anything. Waiting. Okay. So if you have any other questions, you can always post them on the Telegram group, and any of the facilitators would see to it. Thank you, guys.